the best person in the Ummah, past and future. He was quiet, but his presence shook hearts. He was fearless. He was wealthy, but he gave everything for the sake of Allah. He was strong, but he trembled with tears. He had only one friendship, and for that friendship, he was ready to give his life. One day in a cave, when the messenger told him, "Do not be afraid, Allah is with us," he cried with peace filling his heart. One day, without saying a single word, he gave all his wealth to free slaves. And one day, Jibreel brought a salam from Allah himself. "Are you pleased with your Lord?" He wept and said, "I am pleased, O my Lord, I am pleased." This is the journey that began in the streets of Makkah, continued through caves, led to prayer halls, from Hijrah to Caliphate. This is the story of Abu Bakr. And now, it's time to hear his voice. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help us reach more hearts with stories like this. Don't forget to turn on the bell so you won't miss our next videos. The story of Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, the true friend of the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The real name of Abu Bakr, radiallahu anh, was Abdullah bin Uthman. Abu Bakr was his nickname, meaning the father of a young camel. He belonged to the Taym family, also known as the tribe of Ibn Taym. He was one of the wealthiest men in Makkah and a great merchant. He was also a scholar of family lineage known as Nasab. Because of this knowledge, he helped the Prophet, alayhi salam, identify people and tribes during the Prophet's missions. Especially after the return from Taif, during the invitations in the tents of Mina, Abu Bakr stood by the Prophet and played an important role in reaching people. Abu Bakr had a deep dislike for idol worship since birth. He never lived a life of shirk and always followed a pure belief. He was the first adult man to believe in Islam. When the Prophet, alayhi salam, was searching for the truth in the cave of Hira, Jibreel, alayhi salam, came to him and brought the first 5 verses of Surah Alaq. As soon as he received the verses, the Prophet went to our mother Khadijah, trembling, and said, "Cover me." When Khadijah saw his condition, she comforted him. After listening to what happened, she believed in him without any doubt. Then she took the Prophet to her cousin, Waraka bin Nawfal. Waraka was knowledgeable about prophethood and the history of religions. He had once turned to Christianity, but later followed the Hanif belief, a pure faith free from shirk. After listening carefully to the Prophet, he said, "You are the expected and promised final prophet. You are the Khatam al-Nabiyyin." Then he added, "I wish I could be with you on the days when your people will hurt you and you will be forced to leave your home." The Prophet responded in surprise, "Will my people oppress me? Will I really have to leave my home?" The Prophet, alayhi salam, was the most loved and trusted person in Makkah until the age of 40. And finally, the awaited moment had come. This great news, prophethood, was confirmed by Khadijah and Waraka bin Nawfal, and now it had begun to spread. Only a few verses of the Qur'an had been revealed, but through the women, this news quickly reached the ears of Abu Bakr. At that time, he was getting ready to travel to Taif for business. But as soon as he heard this news, he left everything and ran to the Prophet. He didn't ask any questions, didn't wait for any explanation. He saw, he heard, and he believed. Without any doubt, he gave his pledge. This kind of strong submission is very rare in history. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh had 4 marriages. From his first wife Qutayla bint Abdul Uzza, he had 2 children, Asma and Abdullah. His son Abdullah played a major role during the migration, secretly bringing news for 3 nights while the Prophet and Abu Bakr were hiding in the cave of Thawr. From his second wife, Ruman, he had 2 more children, Abdurrahman and our mother Aisha. Because Qutayla did not accept Islam, Abu Bakr divorced her. His son Abdurrahman also stood against Islam for many years. For 21 years he did not pray, did not join any battles, and lived a life of pleasure. Abu Bakr cried for his son every night. One day, after Abdurrahman accepted Islam, he told his father, "Father, I saw you at the Battle of Badr, but I turned away." Abu Bakr replied firmly, showing his strong faith, "If you had come in front of me, I would have cut off your head." Later, Abdurrahman also fought on the side of the disbelievers in the Battle of Uhud. But after the conquest of Makkah, both he and his grandfather, Abu Quhafa, accepted Islam. Abdurrahman then joined the battles of Hunain and the siege of Taif, where he was martyred by an arrow that struck his throat. After Abu Bakr became the Caliph, he once spoke with a tribe from Taif. He pulled out the arrow that had martyred his son and asked, "Who made this arrow?" Sa'd bin Ubaid said, "We fired those arrows, but we don't know who they hit." Abu Bakr said, "This arrow martyred my son Abdurrahman." In that silent moment, Abu Bakr spoke not as a father, but as a believer. "If your son had killed my son, what would we do then? But now look, my son became a martyr and you found faith. Praise be to my Lord." Such an event, such faith, it's hard for us to understand today because we rarely see such true submission anymore. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh never left the side of the Messenger of Allah. Their friendship began when the Prophet was 20 and Abu Bakr was 18. With the coming of prophethood, that friendship turned into an unbreakable bond. Throughout his life, he walked with him, cried with him, and laughed with him. He narrated 143 hadiths. Abu Bakr was a rich merchant at a young age, while the Prophet's financial situation was not strong. Over time, Abu Bakr became an important figure in Dar al-Nadwa, the council that ruled Makkah. The Prophet had no influence there at the time, so by the standards of that era, rank, wealth and status, Abu Bakr could have been seen as above the Prophet. But when prophethood came, he immediately stepped behind him. He believed without asking questions. Today, if you try to speak to someone about Islam, they won't even listen if they have status. If they have money, they act as if their words are law. But Abu Bakr, who had everything, bowed his head the moment he heard the truth, without hesitation. This is the greatness of faith. It was the 5th year of prophethood. A war had started between the 2 great empires of the time, Byzantium and Persia. Heraclius was the ruler of Byzantium, and Khosrow, Kisra Khusro, ruled Persia. The Persian army defeated Byzantium badly. Heraclius even had to leave Istanbul and take refuge in Carthage. The disbelievers in Makkah were very happy about this. They mocked the Muslims, saying, "Persia is like us, without a holy book. Byzantium has a book like the Muslims. Since Persia defeated them, we'll defeat the Muslims too." At that time, Abu Bakr was in Dar al-Arqam. During those days, verses from Surah Ar-Rum were revealed. The Romans have been defeated, but in a few years they will win again. As soon as Abu Bakr heard this good news, he went down to Makkah. While the disbelievers laughed and mocked, Abu Bakr spoke this time. "The Romans will win. In 3 years they will defeat Persia." They made a bet. Abu Bakr said, "Let's bet 10 camels." Then he took this news to the Prophet, alayhi salam. At that time, betting and gambling had not yet been forbidden. The Prophet ﷺ said to Abu Bakr, "Go back to them and say, I'm changing the time to 9 years and raising the bet to 100 camels." Abu Bakr went back. The disbelievers laughed. "What happened? Are you here to give up?" "No," said Abu Bakr. "I'm changing the time to 9 years and raising the bet to 100 camels. Do you accept?" "We accept." Years passed. The day of Badr came, and the Muslims had 2 great victories. The disbelievers were defeated in Badr, and the prophecy from Surah Ar-Rum came true. Byzantium defeated Persia. The 100 camels were given to the poor. One day, while the Prophet was in the house of Hani, Jibreel alayhi salam came and took him to Bayt al-Maqdis. From there, he was raised to the heavens. When he returned in the morning and told what happened, Hani said, "You're not going to tell people this, are you? They won't believe you." But the Prophet told everyone. When Abu Jahl heard the news, he said, "This is the opportunity I was waiting for." He came to the Prophet and asked, "Did you really say this?" "Yes," replied the Prophet. "What if I gather all of Makkah? Will you tell them too?" "Of course," said the Prophet. Abu Jahl gathered the people. The Prophet explained everything in full detail, so clearly that it was impossible to make it up. He even described a caravan that would arrive in 2 days, the camel leading it and the water bag it was carrying. Everything turned out to be exactly as he said. Abu Jahl was shocked and disappointed. But there was one person who hadn't heard yet, Abu Bakr. They ran to him and said, "Oh, Abu Bakr, your friend is saying strange things. He claims he went on the Mi'raj." Let's pause here. Today, you might have heard many debates about the Mi'raj. Was it a dream? Did he go with his body? Was it real or just a vision? But do you know what Abu Bakr said? If he says it, then it's true. That's it. Then he added, "Are you surprised by this? I believe he receives verses from the sky." Just one sentence. It was enough to silence the disbelievers. And at that moment the Prophet said, "O Abu Bakr, by Allah, you are As-Siddiq." This is what made the Sahaba who they were. They confirmed every word from the Prophet without doubt, but we still go back and forth between faith and logic. One day Abu Bakr radiallahu an was attacked by one of the dark-hearted men of that time, Utbah bin Abi Mu'ayt. Utbah had placed nails under his shoes and struck Abu Bakr in the face over and over again. He beat him until he had no strength left. The Taym family stepped in and with great effort carried Abu Bakr back to his home. Because of the injuries, Abu Bakr couldn't open his eyes for an entire day. But when he finally opened them, the first thing he asked was, "Where is the messenger of Allah?" His relatives were shocked by this. "You're still asking about the man who caused this to happen to you?" they shouted, and left the house in anger. But Abu Bakr's heart was not calm. "I won't be at peace until I see him. Where is the messenger of Allah?" His mother, al-Khair, said, "He is at Dar al-Arqam. I will take you there in the evening." That night, they brought him. When the Prophet saw Abu Bakr, he began to cry. He wiped his face with his blessed cloak, but even then, Abu Bakr was thinking of someone else. "O Messenger of Allah, my mother al-Khair is at the door. Please pray for her that she may believe." Before the Prophet even finished his prayer, his mother came in and accepted Islam. Then Abu Bakr went to his elderly father, Abu Quhafa, and knelt before him. "Father, please believe." Abu Quhafa was over 90 years old. He said, "Take me to Muhammad." They brought him. The Prophet, honoring his old age, said, "Why did you trouble yourselves? I could have come to him." Abu Bakr replied, "No, O Messenger of Allah, this nation should come to your feet." And Abu Quhafa believed right there. Abu Bakr began to cry. The Prophet asked, "O Abu Bakr, is this a time to cry? You should be happy." But Abu Bakr gave another reason. "O Messenger of Allah, I only wish that it had been your uncle Abu Talib who accepted faith today, not my father. Then you would have been happy, and so would I. A heart that even in his father's faith puts the Prophet's sorrow first." Abu Bakr never used religion for personal gain. He spent his entire fortune, 40,000 dirhams, to free slaves. Bilal bin Rabah, Khabbab bin Arat, Amr bin Fuhayya. Their freedom was bought with his wealth. One day, Bilal was under the torture of Umayyah bin Khalaf. Hot stones were placed on his body. Umayyah yelled, "Reject your faith, I will let you go." But Bilal replied with only one sentence, "Ahadun ahad, one, only one." Abu Bakr arrived. "Will you sell this slave?" Umayyah mocked him. "Are you really going to buy him?" "I will, 200 dirhams." Abu Bakr gave it without hesitation. Umayyah laughed. "I just sold you a man not worth 2 dirhams for 200. Abu Bakr replied, "If you had asked for 1,000, I would have given it." Because one of them was looking through the window of revelation, the other through his wallet. One saw dark skin, the other saw the faith beneath the skin. When Abu Quhafa, who at that time had not yet believed, heard about this, he said, "O Abu Bakr, I have never seen a worse businessman than you." But after the conquest of Makkah, when he heard Bilal's call to prayer, he changed his mind. "You truly made the best trade." After Abu Bakr radiallahu an saved Bilal bin Rabah from Umayyah bin Khalaf, these verses from Surah Layl were revealed. "But the one with taqwa will be kept away from the fire. He gives his wealth to become pure. He expects nothing in return. He only seeks the pleasure of his Lord, and surely he will be pleased in the end. Now he is among those who are truly pleased." At that time, the Muslims had slowly begun to migrate. Then Jibreel, alayhi salam, came to the Prophet and told him that the leaders of Makkah were planning an assassination in Dar al-Nadwa. The Prophet went to Abu Bakr's house at noon to inform him. Abu Bakr had already prepared 2 camels, feeling that his turn to migrate with the Prophet might come. When the Prophet said the time for Hijrah had come, Abu Bakr immediately asked, "Will I be your companion on this journey, O Messenger of Allah?" "Yes, O Abu Bakr." When he heard this, he burst into tears. Our mother Aisha said, "I had never seen a man cry that much before." Because traveling with the Messenger of Allah meant walking toward death. There was a reward of 100 camels placed on their heads, but for Abu Bakr, this was the greatest honor of his life. To walk with the Messenger of Allah into danger, what could be greater? This moment is praised in Surah Tawbah. He was the second of the 2, and Allah was with them. Tawbah 40. On the night of the Hijrah, the Prophet placed Ali in his bed. Then, reciting verse 9 of Surah Yasin, he threw a handful of dust and walked right past the assassins. "We placed a barrier in front of them and a barrier behind them. We covered their eyes. They could not see." Then they climbed to the cave of Thawr, 750 meters high, and stayed there together for 3 nights. The people of Makkah tracked their footsteps right to the mouth of the cave. It is said in narrations, if they had just looked down, they would have seen them. But Allah protected them with an untouched dove's nest and a spider's web, because when you truly believe in Allah, you realize only He can protect you. Abu Bakr became worried. The Prophet asked, "Why are you afraid, O Abu Bakr?" Abu Bakr replied, "If they kill me, only the house of Abu Quhafa will cry. But if they harm you, the whole Ummah will cry." At that moment, the Prophet said his famous words, "Don't be sad, don't be afraid. Allah is with us." The third of 2 travelers is Allah Himself. This verse is a divine promise written into the heart of the Hijrah journey. Abu Bakr's daughter, our mother Asma, became one of the hidden heroes of this sacred journey. She carried food to the cave of Thawr in secret. Then the journey continued, the destination, Medina. On the way, Abu Bakr circled around the Prophet like a shield. Wherever danger might come from, he wanted to be the first to face it. The Prophet asked, "O Abu Bakr, do you love me so much?" Abu Bakr gave a clear answer. "O Messenger of Allah, I would give up my life just to keep you safe." The Hijrah was made with 2 camels, and they were guided by a disbelieving guide. One of their pursuers was Surah bin Malik, a master tracker. As he got close, all 4 legs of his horse suddenly sank into the sand. Surah realized this group was protected. Later, he too became a believer. Years passed. A time of famine came to Medina. The expedition to Tabuk was being prepared. According to one report, it was an army of 30,000, in another 40,000. The Prophet called for donations. Umar, radiallahu an, said, "This time I will outdo Abu Bakr." He brought half of his wealth. The Prophet asked, "O Umar, what did you leave for your family?" "The other half of my wealth," he replied. Then Abu Bakr came, bringing everything he had. The Prophet asked, "O Abu Bakr, what did you leave for your family?" "I left Allah and His Messenger," he said. Umar lowered his head and said, "You can never be passed, O Abu Bakr. You are unmatched in goodness." One day, the Prophet spoke of the 8 gates of paradise, the gate of prayer, fasting, zakah, charity. The companions asked, "O Messenger of Allah, is there anyone who will be called from all 8 gates?" The Prophet replied, "Yes. That person is the best of my ummah, Abu Bakr." And one day Abu Bakr made a heart-shaking prayer, "O my Lord, make my body so large that no one else can enter hell but me." Because even in hell, he could not bear to see his ummah burning. He wanted to fill hell with his own body, just so the Prophet would not be saddened. This is a heart so great that even the mind cannot grasp it. And the name of that heart is Abu Bakr. Bediüzzaman Said Nursi once said something similar to this. "If I see my nation's faith safe and sound, I am ready to burn in the flames of hell, because while my body burns, my heart will become a rose garden." This vision, this deep view, that is the greatness we too must try to reach in our own way. Allah's salam to Abu Bakr. In the life of Abu Bakr, radiallahu an, there is a moment that is both heart-touching and peaceful like the sky. It must be remembered. One day the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting. Abu Bakr was with him. He was wearing an old, worn-out cloak held together on his chest by a thorn. At that moment, Jibreel alayhi salam came and asked, "O Messenger of Allah, what is this old cloak that Abu Bakr has pinned with a thorn?" The Prophet replied, "Before the conquest of Makkah, he spent all his wealth in the path of Allah." Then Jibreel said, "In that case, your Lord sends his salam to him and asks, 'O Abu Bakr, are you pleased with me in this condition?'" The Prophet immediately turned and shared the good news with Abu Bakr. Tears flowed from Abu Bakr's eyes. Crying, he answered, "I am pleased with my Lord. Of course I am pleased." Time passed and the farewell drew near. One day, Abbas came to visit his nephew, the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "O Muhammad, they are troubling you a lot. Let us take you to a high place where people can't reach you easily and won't upset you." The Prophet gave a soft smile and said, "Uncle, there is no need for that." At that moment, Abbas felt that something had changed. A veil lifted from his heart, and he said, "The doors are opening." Not long after, the Prophet gave a sermon. Allah gave a servant the choice between this world and the next. That servant chose the hereafter. As soon as Abu Bakr heard these words, he began to cry deeply. The companions were surprised. "O Abu Bakr, why are you crying?" And Abu Bakr replied, "Because that servant is Muhammad Mustafa, That is why I am crying. The sense that the Prophet's sallallahu alaihi wasallam passing was near had slowly begun to spread in Medina. One Thursday evening, after leading the Maghrib prayer, he returned to his room and recited Surah Mursalat. When the time for Isha came, the companions waited for him to come and lead the prayer again, but he was no longer strong enough to get up from his bed. He said, "Tell Abu Bakr to lead the prayer." But Abu Bakr didn't step forward. The Prophet repeated it 2 more times. Finally, our mother Aisha spoke. "O Messenger of Allah, my father is very emotional. He won't be able to recite without crying. If you wish, let Umar lead." The Prophet answered firmly, "No, Abu Bakr will lead." Because this insistence was not just about prayer, it was also a clear sign. Who would lead the Ummah after the Prophet was being silently declared? Abu Bakr gave the opening takbir, but led the prayer with a voice full of tears. In the following days, the Prophet happily watched the prayers led by Abu Bakr, 17 times in total. Once he even joined the prayer from his room. Then came Monday morning. Our mother Aisha sat the ill Prophet up and opened the curtain. The Prophet saw Abu Bakr leading the prayer and smiled. When Abu Bakr realized the Prophet was watching him, he was overjoyed, almost lifted off the ground. But later that day, the Prophet's condition became worse again. Aisha's brother Abdurrahman entered the room holding a miswak. Aisha asked, "Would you like me to give you the miswak?" The Prophet could no longer speak. He nodded with his eyes. Aisha softened it and helped him use it. These were the final moments. He said, "O Aisha, how heavy is the agony of death." And then he said the Shahada and returned his soul to his Lord. The news reached Abu Bakr. He came at once. What did he see? Umar was standing with his sword drawn, shouting, "Whoever says Muhammad is dead, I will strike him down. We still have work to do with the hypocrites." Uthman and Ali had withdrawn in grief. Abu Bakr went straight inside. He uncovered the Prophet's face and kissed his forehead. "O Messenger of Allah, you were beautiful in life, and you are beautiful in death," he said. Then he came out. In a moment when no one could speak, when hearts were broken, like a mountain he stood and spoke. "Whoever worshipped Muhammad, let them know that Muhammad has died. But whoever worships Allah, let them know that Allah is living and will never die." With these words, the companions gathered themselves again, their hearts calmed. The washing of the Prophet's body was done by Ali. But now a new question came. Where will he be buried? Again, Abu Bakr stepped in. "I heard from the Messenger of Allah, a prophet is buried in the place where he passes away." And so the Prophet was buried in the room of our mother, Aisha, in the Hijrah al-Sa'ada. Aisha lived in that room for many years, drawing a curtain around the grave area. Later, when Abu Bakr passed away, he was buried there too. And later, Umar radiallahu an joined them. One was a prophet, one was his closest friend, and one was his loyal helper. Just as they were together in this life, they now rest side by side in eternity. The election of the Caliph, to go from a life with a prophet to a life without one. This was one of the hardest tests the Ummah ever faced. Until that day, whenever something happened, the companions would go directly to the Messenger of Allah. Now, what would they do? Whom would they turn to? Could the one they choose truly fill his place? After the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, passed away, the Ansar gathered in a shaded area called Saqifa. Their leader was Sa'd bin Ubadah, and they said, "This mission must not be left unfinished. We must choose a caliph immediately." It was not because they desired power, never. They simply didn't want the Ummah to be left without a leader. At that moment, Abu Bakr, Umar, and Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah arrived from the Muhajirun. In their minds was the Prophet's words, The leader of the Ummah will be from the Muhajirun. Umar turned to Abu Ubaidah, ready to give him the pledge of allegiance. But Abu Ubaidah stepped back and said, "While the one whom the Prophet chose as the leader during Hajj and left as his deputy until his death is standing here, this duty cannot be mine." Then he took Abu Bakr's hand and pledged allegiance. Everyone present followed and gave their pledge to Abu Bakr, declaring him the first Caliph. Afterward, Abu Bakr made a public call for allegiance. This was like a vote of trust. He wanted the approval of the whole Ummah, because this matter had to be resolved with peace and unity, and that's exactly what happened. After becoming Caliph, Abu Bakr had no wealth left to live on. He had already spent everything, either to free slaves or to support the Tabuk campaign for the Prophet. Even after becoming Caliph, he continued earning his living by selling milk. In some neighborhoods, he still milked animals and sold the milk to feed himself. This scene deeply moved Umar. He immediately went to him with Abu Ubaidah and said, "O Abu Bakr, this can't go on. You are now the Caliph. You must spend your time with the affairs of the Ummah. We must give you a salary from Bayt al-Mal." At first, Abu Bakr refused, but after much insistence, he agreed to take only the bare minimum to live on. Even then, he only used it when necessary. The rest he saved in a small clay pot. 2.5 years later, at the age of 63, just like the Messenger of Allah, he passed away from this world. He left behind no wealth, no kingdom. When Umar saw the small pot with the leftover money, he couldn't hold back his tears. "O Abu Bakr, you left us a way of Islam that is so pure. You drew a line so high that it's nearly impossible to reach." During the most difficult times in Medina, a new wave of trouble began outside. Some tribes took advantage of the Prophet's death and started to leave Islam. False prophets appeared. One of them was a woman named Sajah. Another was a man who became known in history as Musaylama al-Kadhdhab, Musaylama the liar. This wave of rebellion became especially strong in Yamama. At that critical moment, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh appointed a young companion, only 17 years old, Usama bin Zayd, as the leader of the army. The army had 12,000 soldiers. According to some reports, they were to be sent to 11 different locations. But the people of Medina became worried. They went to Abu Bakr and said, "O Abu Bakr, the Messenger of Allah has just passed away. The Ummah is weak. If you send the army now, Medina will be left unprotected." But Abu Bakr was firm. "I will not stop an army that the Messenger of Allah had already sent." Still, the people hoped to soften his decision. They asked Umar to speak to him. "At least let someone else lead the army instead of Usama." Umar brought this request to Abu Bakr, but Abu Bakr gave a strong answer. He grabbed his beard and said, "O Umar, were you brave in Jahiliyyah, only to become a coward in Islam? Even if Medina is attacked, even if the Prophet's house is entered, I will still send this army." And the army was indeed sent. This strong decision scared those who had left Islam. They said, "If they send out an army of 12,000 at their weakest moment, what will they do when they are strong?" They stepped back. The fitna was stopped before it could grow, without even a battle. Abu Bakr, a symbol of mercy when needed, and a lion when strength was called for. After the Battle of Yamama, many companions who had memorized the Qur'an were martyred. A new danger arose. The Qur'an was scattered and needed to be protected. Umar came to Abu Bakr and said, "Let's gather the Qur'an into one written copy." Abu Bakr hesitated. "The Messenger of Allah never did this. How can I do it?" But Umar replied, "At that time, revelation was still coming. Now, it has ended." Then Abu Bakr agreed. The task of writing the Qur'an was given to Zayd bin Thabit. Zayd carefully gathered the verses with witnesses. Every verse written on leather, stones, and bones was collected one by one. At last, the first mushaf was created and given to Abu Bakr. After his caliphate, he gave it to Umar. Abu Bakr radiallahu an passed away after 2.5 years as Caliph. He was 63 years old, the same age as the Prophet. Even when all the planets are together, if you feel alone in this vast universe, this channel is for you. For this video to reach others like you, and not get lost in the YouTube ocean, it needs your support. Every new subscriber helps us reach another wounded heart. So please like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment. For the sake of Allah, Al-Fatiha.